20 years ago, nuclear was a dirty word. With its heritage and the devastating power of the atomic bomb and accidents like Chernobyl showing us what can happen when it goes wrong, it's not surprising that we avoided it. But with the UK's coal power stations shutting down to meet our carbon targets, the UK government has just commissioned our first nuclear power station in a generation. So is nuclear the answer to our energy needs? I headed down to meet Professor Bill Lee, Director of the Centre for Nuclear Engineering at Imperial College London, to find out whether nuclear is the answer to our energy needs.
I think nuclear power is the environmental friendly source of energy. I regard myself as an environmentalist. I used to be in Greenpeace. Yes, we should be going for renewables, solar and wind power, but you need your baseload electricity. And so the choice really is not between renewables and nuclear, it's between coal and nuclear, or fossil fuels and nuclear for that baseload electricity. And because we want a low carbon economy, we want to protect the environment from CO2 emissions, nuclear has to be the option really.
So there we have it. Nuclear power is the only way we can meet our energy demands, cut our carbon emissions, and it's also a lot safer than it used to be. But aren't we forgetting something?
Yeah, so Fukushima was a bad accident, but largely, you know, it was an old reactor. It held together. So largely, Fukushima demonstrated that again, you know, with the oldest type of reactor, the worst possible scenario, an earthquake and a huge tsunami, it stood up pretty well.
So perhaps the risks of nuclear have been exaggerated. I went to speak to Professor David Elliott, who worked on the UK nuclear energy programme in the 1960s, but is now far more interested in renewable energy.
There is a big difference between external radiation, like background radiation, which everyone lives with, and stuff that you absorb. Once you've absorbed it, it sits in you and continues to radiate bits of your body indefinitely until it causes a cancer. So making comparisons with background radiation is pointless. Yes, if you ground up chunks of granite and started eating that radioactive granite from Cornwall, yes, you probably would have significant problems, but that's of course what happens with a nuclear power plant. You get all this dust into the food and water and the air that people internalise. The way of looking at nuclear the industry adopts is a little bit limited and obviously makes things sound less frightening. This stuff is dangerous and perhaps if we don't need it, why bother?
Well, that changes things somewhat. But don't we need nuclear to prevent climate change?
Renewable energy, I think, is the solution to climate change, along with energy efficiency. Nuclear power gets in the way of that. It's not compatible with renewables. It's an inflexible technology. You have to run it flat out or not at all.
Well, perhaps nuclear is holding back the development of renewables.
People in the green movement are very keen on renewables. In fact, I'm very keen on renewables. But the problem is that they're only intermittent. So you get electricity when the sun shines and the wind blows, and you need some backup for the situations where the sun's not shining and the wind's not blowing. And if you want low carbon, it's got to be nuclear.
So it seems that nuclear power is the only way that we can meet our baseload electricity demands and cut our carbon emissions. But in going nuclear, are we missing the opportunity to revolutionise our approach to electricity production?